You've felt it for weeks now, maybe months. That subtle shift in how she looks at you, how she speaks to you, how she treats the things you say like they don't really matter. You've tried to ignore it. You've told yourself you're overthinking. You've convinced yourself that everything is fine, that relationships have their ups and downs, that this is just a phase. But deep inside, in that quiet place you don't like to visit, you know something has changed. And today, that knowing is about to become clear. Because respect isn't something you can fake. It isn't something that hides well. And when it's gone, when a woman has lost respect for you, there are signs, undeniable signs that show up in her words, her actions, and the way she treats your presence in her life. If you've been feeling dismissed, if you've been feeling small, if you've noticed patterns that make your stomach tighten, but you couldn't name them, this message is for you. What you're about to hear will either confirm what you've been avoiding or wake you up to something you didn't see coming. Either way, the truth you're carrying is about to surface. If something inside you is already stirring, if you feel that uncomfortable recognition beginning to rise, stay with me. Because the first sign is the one most men miss entirely. It happens so gradually, so quietly, that by the time you notice it, the damage is already deep. And once you recognize it, everything else will start to make sense. Sign 1. She dismisses your opinions like they don't matter. You've experienced this more times than you want to admit. You offer your perspective on something, a decision, a plan, an idea, and she brushes it aside without even pausing to consider it. Not with anger, not with argument, just with indifference. Like what you said didn't even register as worth her attention. Maybe you suggest a restaurant and she immediately chooses another one without discussion. Maybe you share your thoughts on something important and she changes the subject before you finish speaking. Maybe you give advice and she does the exact opposite without explanation, without even acknowledging that you spoke at all. This isn't about disagreement. Disagreement is healthy. Disagreement means she values your input enough to engage with it, even if she sees things differently. But dismissal is something else entirely. Dismissal is what happens when someone has stopped seeing you as an equal voice in the relationship, when your words carry no weight, when your perspective has become background noise she's learned to tune out. And here's what makes this so painful. You remember a time when she listened, when she asked for your opinion, when your thoughts mattered to her, when she looked at you with curiosity and respect, wanting to know what you thought, how you saw things, what you would do. But something shifted, and now when you speak there's a glazed look in her eyes, a subtle impatience, a quiet signal that says, "I'm waiting for you to finish so I can move on." She's not hearing you anymore, she's tolerating you. When a woman respects you, she doesn't have to agree with everything you say, but she listens, she considers, she engages, she treats your perspective as valuable even when it differs from hers. But when respect is gone, your voice becomes optional, your input becomes irrelevant, and you can feel it every single time you try to contribute something meaningful. This is the foundation. Because when she stops valuing what you think, everything else begins to crumble. And the second sign builds directly on this one. It's about how she treats you when other people are watching. If you've ever felt embarrassed by the way she speaks to you in public, if you've ever felt small in front of your friends or her friends, then what comes next will hit close to home. Because respect isn't just about what happens in private. It's about how she represents you to the world. Sign 2. She belittles you in front of others. You're sitting with friends. Maybe it's your friends. Maybe it's hers. Maybe it's family. And you say something, share a story, make a comment, and before anyone else can respond, she jumps in. Not to add to what you said, not to support you, but to correct you, to mock you, to make a joke at your expense, and everyone laughs, including her. In that moment, something inside you tightens. You force a smile, you play it off, you tell yourself it's just humour, just playful teasing, just the dynamic you two have. But it doesn't feel playful, it feels like humiliation. And the worst part is, she doesn't even seem to notice. Or maybe she does notice, and that's exactly why she does it. When a woman respects you, she protects your image in public. She doesn't expose your flaws to get a laugh. She doesn't undermine you to make herself look clever. She doesn't share your private struggles or mistakes as entertainment for others, because she understands that respect means honouring someone's dignity, especially when they're most vulnerable. But when respect is absent, the opposite happens. She uses your weaknesses as material. She shares embarrassing stories about you that you never gave her permission to tell. She criticizes you openly, casually, like it's normal. She makes you the punchline in conversations where you should be her equal or her partner, and maybe she says it's just a joke. Maybe she tells you you're being too sensitive. Maybe she accuses you of not being able to take a little teasing. But here's the truth. Teasing between partners who respect each other has a boundary. It never crosses into cruelty. It never feels like a knife disguised as humour. Never leaves you feeling smaller than you were before. If she's consistently making you look bad in front of others, if she's tearing you down publicly while smiling like it means nothing, that's not love. That's not partnership. That's disrespect wrapped in casualness. And it's one of the clearest signs that she no longer sees you as someone worth protecting. But public humiliation is just one piece. Because what happens in private can be even more telling. And the third sign is something that happens when no one else is around. It's in the small moments, the everyday interactions, the tone she uses when it's just the two of you. If you've noticed that she speaks to you differently than she speaks to everyone else, and not in a good way, then you need to hear this next part. Because tone reveals everything. Sign 3. Her tone with you is cold, harsh, or condescending. Pay attention to how she talks to you when no one is watching. Not what she says, but how she says it. The sharpness, the impatience, the coldness that wasn't there before. You ask her a simple question and her response is clipped. You try to start a conversation and she sighs before answering. You make a mistake, something small, something human, and instead of understanding, you get a tone that cuts. Like you're an inconvenience, like you're exhausting her just by existing. And here's what makes this so confusing. She doesn't talk to everyone this way. When she's with her friends, her voice is warm. When she's on the phone with her family, she's patient. When she's at work or with strangers, she's polite, even kind. But with you, the person who should matter most, her tone hardens. Her words become shorter. Her energy becomes colder. This is what happens when respect fades. She stops managing her tone around you because she stopped caring how her words land. She no longer feels the need to soften her edges with you. She no longer filters her irritation or frustration. And slowly, the person who used to speak to you with warmth now speaks to you like you're beneath her. When a woman respects a man, even in frustration, even in disagreement, there's still a baseline of care in how she communicates. She doesn't speak to him the way she'd speak to someone she despises. She doesn't use that condescending tone that makes you feel like a child being scolded. But when respect is gone, every conversation starts to feel like a battle. Every request feels like you're asking for too much. Every interaction leaves you feeling drained, criticized, or less than. And if you've been telling yourself that this is just stress, just her personality, just something temporary, you need to stop. Because a person's tone reveals how they truly feel about you. And if the tone has shifted from warmth to coldness, from kindness to condescension, then respect has left the relationship, and tone is just the surface. Because beneath it, there's something even more damaging happening. Something that affects not just how she talks to you, but whether she even considers you at all. The fourth sign is one that shows up in decisions, plans, and the future she's building. And if she's making choices without you, if you're finding out about her plans after they've already been set, you need to understand what that really means. Sign 4. She makes major decisions without consulting you. You find out after the fact. She's made plans for the weekend. She's committed to something. She's decided on something significant, and you weren't part of the conversation. Not because she forgot, not because it slipped her mind, but because she didn't think she needed your input. Maybe she's booked a trip without asking if you're available. Maybe she's made a financial decision that affects both of you without discussing it. Maybe she's planning her future, her career moves, her next steps, and you're not even in the picture. You're just expected to go along with whatever she's already decided. This is a fundamental breakdown of partnership. Because when two people respect each other, they operate as a team, they consult each other. They consider each other's needs, schedules, and perspectives before making decisions that impact both lives. Even if one person has the final say, the other is brought into the conversation, they're valued, they're considered. But when a woman has lost respect for you, you stop being part of her decision-making process. You become an afterthought, someone she informs, not someone she includes, and the message is clear. Your presence in her life has become optional. Your opinion is no longer necessary. Your partnership is no longer equal. And here's what this does to you over time. It makes you feel invisible. It makes you question your place in the relationship. It makes you wonder if you even matter to her at all. Because how can you matter if she's planning her life without considering you? When respect exists, inclusion is automatic. She doesn't have to force herself to think about you. You're already part of how she sees her future. But when respect is absent, you're edited out of the narrative. You're the supporting character in a story where you thought you were a partner. If you've been feeling left out, if you've been surprised by decisions she's made without you, if you felt like you're always catching up to plans that were set without your knowledge, this is more than forgetfulness. This is disrespect showing you exactly where you stand. And it leads directly into the next sign, one that most men don't recognize until it's too late. It's about boundaries. Not the boundaries she sets, but the boundaries she crosses. If she's been violating your personal limits, dismissing your needs, or treating your boundaries like suggestions she can ignore, then the fifth sign will explain why, and it might be the most painful one yet. Sign 5. She violates your boundaries repeatedly. You've told her what you need. You've communicated your limits. You've expressed what makes you uncomfortable, what hurts you, what crosses a line for you. And she heard you. She acknowledged it. Maybe she even apologized. But then she did it again, and again, and again. Maybe it's something small. Maybe she shares private details about your relationship with her friends, even after you asked her not to. Maybe she pushes you to do things you've clearly said you're not comfortable with. Maybe she brings up sensitive topics in front of people you specifically asked her to keep private. Or maybe it's bigger. Maybe she disrespects your time, your space, your emotional limits. Maybe she flirts with other men in ways that make you uncomfortable, and when you bring it up, she tells you you're insecure. Maybe she pressures you into situations that violate your values, and then makes you feel guilty for having those values in the first place. When a woman respects you, your boundaries are sacred. She doesn't have to understand every single one. She doesn't have to feel the same way about them, but she honors them, because honoring someone's boundaries is how you show them they matter. It's how you demonstrate that their well-being is important to you, that their comfort, their peace, their emotional safety are things you protect, not violate. But when respect is gone, your boundaries become obstacles she's annoyed by. She treats them like they're unreasonable. She crosses them casually, repeatedly, and then acts surprised when you're hurt. Or worse, she blames you. She makes you the problem for having boundaries in the first place. This is one of the most insidious forms of disrespect because it makes you question yourself. It makes you wonder if your needs are too much, if your limits are unreasonable, if you're being controlling or difficult or overly sensitive, and slowly you start shrinking. You stop asserting your boundaries because you're tired of the fight. You stop protecting yourself because it's easier to just let things slide. But here's the truth. Your boundaries are not negotiable. They are not suggestions. They are the framework of how you deserve to be treated. And anyone who repeatedly violates them is telling you clearly that they do not respect you, that your needs do not matter as much as their convenience, that your well-being is secondary to whatever they want in the moment. If she's crossing your boundaries over and over, if she's dismissing your needs, if she's making you feel like you're wrong for having limits, that's not love. That's disrespect in its purest form, and it connects directly to the final sign, the one that ties everything together, the one that reveals the core of what's been happening. Because all of these signs, the dismissal, the public humiliation, the harsh tone, the exclusion, the boundary violations, they all point to one undeniable truth. And the sixth sign makes it impossible to ignore. Sign 6. She doesn't defend you or stand up for you. Someone criticizes you. Someone disrespects you. Someone crosses a line with you, and she's right there. She sees it. She hears it. And she does nothing. Or worse, she joins in. Maybe it's her friends making jokes about you and she laughs along. Maybe it's her family disrespecting you and she stays silent. Maybe someone questions your character, your decisions, your worth, and instead of standing beside you, she either agrees with them or changes the subject like it didn't happen. This is the final and most devastating sign, because when a woman respects you, she defends you, not in an aggressive way, not in a way that starts conflict, but in a way that makes it clear you're not someone to be disrespected in her presence. She doesn't allow people to tear you down. She doesn't tolerate others treating you poorly, because you are hers to protect, just as she is yours. But when respect is gone, she becomes a bystander to your humiliation, or worse, a participant. She allows others to disrespect you because she's already disrespecting you herself. And in those moments, when you look to her for support and find nothing, when you search her eyes for solidarity and see indifference, you realize something soul-crushing. She's no longer on your side, and that realization changes everything. Because you can survive disagreements, you can work through conflict, you can navigate differences, but you cannot build a life with someone who doesn't defend you. You cannot trust someone who allows the world to tear you down while she watches. You cannot feel safe with someone who has stopped seeing you as worth protecting. When a woman respects a man, she is his shield in moments when the world comes at him. Not because he's weak, not because he needs saving, but because partnership means you don't stand alone. It means when the world questions you, there is one person who doesn't. When the world doubts you, there is one person who believes. When the world disrespects you, there is one person who will not tolerate it. But if she has stopped being that person, if she has become part of the crowd that diminishes you instead of the one who stands with you, then respect is not just fading, it's gone. You've seen the signs, maybe not all of them, maybe just a few, but enough to know that something fundamental has shifted, and now you're standing at a crossroads. One path leads to denial, to convincing yourself it's not that bad, to making excuses, to hoping things will change on their own. The other path leads to truth, to acknowledging what you feel, to understanding that you deserve respect, not just love. Because love without respect is not love at all. It's attachment, it's convenience, it's habit. And here's what you need to understand. Respect isn't something you can beg for. It isn't something you can negotiate. It isn't something that returns just because you want it to. Respect is either present or it's not. And when it's gone, When a woman has lost respect for a man, it's almost impossible to rebuild without massive change, real accountability, and often separation. You cannot make someone respect you by shrinking yourself, by being nicer, by doing more, by proving your worth. Because the problem was never that you weren't enough. The problem is that she stopped seeing you clearly. And until she does the internal work to understand why she lost respect, until she confronts her own patterns and choices, nothing you do will change how she treats you. So what do you do now? You stop ignoring the signs. You stop pretending everything is fine. You stop making yourself smaller to accommodate someone who doesn't value you. You look at the reality of your relationship without the filters of hope or fear, and you ask yourself one honest question. Is this the treatment I'm willing to accept for the rest of my life? Because if the answer is no, then you know what comes next, and it won't be easy, but it will be honest. And sometimes, honesty is the only path back to yourself. If this resonated with you, if you felt the weight of recognition in your chest, type, "I see it now" in the comments, not for me, but as an acknowledgement to yourself, as a signal that you're ready to stop pretending, that you're ready to face the truth, that you're ready to reclaim your self-respect, even if it cost you the relationship. Your journey doesn't end here. It continues, and what comes next is up to you.